Hey, it's Hunt. You found Hunt on Saints. We're talking black and gold football. Do us a favor. Hit the like button, share your comments below, and hit that subscription button so you can get all of our content. Enjoy. Let's talk Saints and Falcons. I was prepared to come in here and tell you just how impressed I was that the Saints were able to get that win in Atlanta. Like, when you consider what they were up against in that game, you start the game with no Eric McCoy and no Cesar Ruiz. And then you start to look at the guys you count on to make plays, and Olave's banged up from a practice injury, and Kamara's got apparently broken ribs and a hip pointer. And then you look to the defense, and DeMario Davis is missing his first game due to injury ever. And you don't have Tyrann Mathieu in the middle of that game. Taysom had gone out. Like, you were a mash unit. And to find a way defensively to keep the Falcons out of the end zone and to do enough on offense to get the points on the board to take the lead with a minute to go was so impressive to me, understanding what you did not have on the field. And then one tough call on the pass interference, and you've got a pro kicker in range, and he rips your heart out. And it goes from, to me, an incredible organization win in the division, on the road, shorthanded, going into a long week. Man, it would have been huge. And it gets plucked away right there at the end on the longest kick of Koo's career. Just an absolute backbreaker of a loss for the New Orleans Saints. And there are a number of things that you could have asked to go a little bit differently, and you win that game. First of all, Rashid Shaheed. People muff punts all the time. I'm not going to go nuts about muffing a punt in a vacuum. You simply cannot, under any circumstances, try to field a punt over your shoulder inside the 5-yard line. Like, I'm okay with football players muffing a punt or dropping a pass or maybe getting a holding penalty on a tight play or a pass interference, even a Debo's pass interference that gave him 30 yards at the end. Those types of mistakes I can live with. I cannot live with a punt returner trying to catch the ball over his shoulder at the 3. That cannot happen. It is so avoidable, so easily avoidable, and it's unacceptable for a guy to put himself in that situation. I was listening to the radio broadcast at that point. We were coming home from church, and Deuce was on the call, and he said, look, you put your heels on the 6, and if it goes over your head, it goes over your head. You cannot back up and try to catch that ball. Just inexcusable. And you hand the Falcons a touchdown they did not deserve. And then you get an unfortunate break there on the screen pass. Atlanta did a really good job of blowing it up. They got some pressure on the outside where Carr was looking to throw it, and they got pressure coming in Carr's face. So they were in two places they were supposed to be. And instead of, the ball getting tipped and going straight down into the ground, it gets tipped straight up in the air, and the guy catches it and runs it in for a touchdown. That's good play by Atlanta and bad fortune for New Orleans that the ball just happens to do that. And those are the only 2 touchdowns the Falcons are able to muster. And no one has lost a game in the NFL with scoring 24 points on offense and not allowing the opposing team to score a touchdown offensively since the Saints did it in the early 80s. This just does not happen. And it happened on Sunday. And it is a gut-wrenching loss for this team that scrapped and fought and clawed to get it to a lead with a minute to go with a mash unit out there on the field. Alvin Kamara, I cannot say enough good things about Alvin Kamara. I still question a significant financial commitment to him for the next 3 years. And significant is subjective. I understand that. We'll see if they get an extension done, what that looks like. However, that's for another day. Today, you're talking about a guy who isn't happy with his contract situation, who showed up to camp, who showed up to practice, who's taken a beating every single week because the Saints are committed to running the football, who is playing hurt, taking shot after shot after shot, and producing. He's out there apparently with broken ribs, 19 carries, and he made 7 catches, 26 touches for a guy who's taken shots with broken ribs. It was, I cannot say enough good things about him in this day and age where players are holding out and demanding trades and all that kind of stuff. For him to be that committed is amazing to me and deserves a ton of praise. And I thought his touchdown was going to be the one that did it. And unfortunately, the Saints weren't able to hold. There was a lot made of Dennis Allen's decision to go for that 4th and goal from the 7. You were down by 6. It was getting late. And you'd driven it down there. You'd gone 11 plays to that point. That was the 12th play of the drive. And you had the ball right there at the 7-yard line, down 6, 4 minutes to go. I probably would have kicked the field goal. But this is one of those situations where most talk radio guys will get up here and make a definitive, declarative statement on opinion, and that's probably the best for radio. But it's just not how I'm wired. And I don't think there was a right or a wrong decision in that spot, because if you take the field goal, yes, you cut it down to 3, and then you kick off to Atlanta, and you got to trust your defense. If you get the touchdown, you take the lead. If you don't get it, you've got them pinned back, and you can potentially get field position, and that's what happened. So, it didn't go horribly wrong. Yes, they didn't get the 7 yards, but Atlanta took over, immediately went 3 and out, and you got the ball back with plenty of time and used that field position advantage that you had created to go get the touchdown. So it did not work, but you did leave more time on the clock. And this is the uncomfortable thing with NFL games, because the kickers are so freaking good that it doesn't take much to get into their range. You really only have to get to the 40-yard line, and most kickers are going to be pretty money from there. It's not a gimme, but if you hit 57-yard field goal is a far better chance to make it than miss it. Far better. 57 yards. And that's crazy. It was not the case 15 years ago. It is now. And so when you leave time on the clock in an NFL game, it almost takes nothing for a team to go down there and get you. And it took one penalty. It was one 30-yard penalty. That was all they got. And Atlanta threw up the white flag and was like, all right, 30-yard penalty. We got the ball on the 40. We're good. And they were good. So I didn't necessarily think that Dennis Allen blew it there. I didn't necessarily think that Paulson Adebo blew it with the pass interference call as he's trying to make a play there. Can't let him catch it. It's just a back-breaking loss in a game that you thought you were going to win right there at the end. And that's going to be a tough one for the Saints to get over. And you literally have as bad a turnaround as you could have. I guess it could be a Thursday night game would be worse, but going to Kansas City is as bad as an assignment as you can get. And that's now what the Saints are up against at 2-2. They were the toast of the league through 2 weeks, and now it just feels a lot different. And that's the way things go. It's a week-to-week league, and this week it feels pretty lonely in Saints land.
Yeah, I agree with you on pretty much everything. The only thing, one of the things that was interesting to me was while the Saints, the defense was incredible, they held them, they didn't score a touchdown, but one of the weird things was the pass rush kind of seemed to struggle a little bit against the offensive line for Atlanta, who are down a starter as well. That was kind of surprising, but great play. Peyton Turner made a play.
I couldn't believe it when they said his name. I could not believe that.
Yeah, that was pretty cool to see. And I know Paulson Adebo, a lot of people are going to be talking about his performance, and they targeted him all game. They threw at Marshawn Lattimore one time, I think, the entire game. They just went into Debo the whole game. He had 3 pass deflections. He had the interception. He did those PI calls, but overall, man, the cornerbacks, when they get targeted that much, it's so hard to win.
Well, Adebo is good because he's physical.
Yeah,
it's part of his game. He's not like Deion Sanders, who's got speed and he can just catch up to everybody in coverage. He's a physical corner. That's what makes him good. And when you're a physical corner, you're gonna get flagged a little bit. And again, that's what I'm talking about. I can live with that mistake. It's a mistake, and it was part of the reason you lost the game. I cannot live with Shaheed going back there and trying to catch a punt.
Right.
I can live with a corner trying to play down the field, 30 yards down the field, and trying to get involved and break up a play, and you draw a flag. You knew the game you were in big trouble at that point, but there's not really another option. You can't just let him catch it. I mean, so it's just tough. I don't have a ton more insightful things to say other than that would have been such an amazing win to go to 3-1. And you look at it and you understand how difficult this start is. And you got at the Chiefs, the Bucs looked great. Broncos don't look very good, so that one you would hope to get at home, but then you got to go on the road to LA, and it's just, I mean, that one to get that division game won would have just been massive for New Orleans, especially considering who they were. I mean, there was a point out there in the second half where you've got Bub Means out there playing at wide receiver because Olave's banged up, and you're trying to give the ball to Jamal Williams, who looks like he's wearing cement shoes. And I'm like, how are they even going to move the ball? And then Kamara came in and banged up and all, was just pounding away. And Carr made some throws when he absolutely had to have it against a shoddy offensive line. And he found Olave, who made a big play even though he was banged up, and fouled Shaheed for some chunk yardage. And they held it together with duct tape and just about got to the finish line, but that's just really difficult to do in the NFL. I mean, you had JT Gray was out there playing defense. He's a special teams guy. It was just crazy. They almost got that thing done.
It just goes to show the how small the difference between a win and loss is. The Falcons could easily be 0-4 right now. If Saquon Barkley catches that third down with the Eagles game, they win. And if Rashid Shaheed doesn't go back to the 2-yard line and try to field a punt, they lose that one. So they could easily be 0-4. And it's just man, that's such a tough way to lose.
I mean, look, it's y'all know I'm a college guy before an NFL guy. Everyone is well aware of that. But there is no denying the quality of the product in terms of competition that the NFL puts out there every single week. Like, most college football games are runaways. Almost no NFL games are runaways. I mean, you got this kind of stuff every single week. And even when you're talking about teams that don't have their best guys, still, you're able to go out there and put that
the fact that Willie Gay goes down early in the game, he's your replacement for DeMario Davis, and then the defense still doesn't miss a beat, really, when you're down two your linebackers. And one thing I'll say, though,
they had a guy out there, and I don't know who it was.
Yeah.
I'd never heard of. I was like, I don't even know who that is. I covered it.
I think I'm trying to find the box score. I think it was it DeMarco Jackson?
That's it.
Maybe. DeMarco Jackson.
And now that I hear that, Ross writes about him. Ross read about him a bunch, and I edit all.
And he wasn't bad. He really wasn't. So
yeah.
That just goes to show the depth of the Saints have on defense. But I will say one thing about next week, the Chiefs. Obviously, going into getting a win in Arrowhead would be a miracle at this point. But the Chiefs haven't looked great through this year. They just gotten wins. So I'm not going to say that the Saints have no chance. They're going to have to play almost a perfect game probably. But I'm not counting out the Saints completely just because of the Chiefs and their history. But they haven't looked good this year.
I'm fired up. We'll be watching that game at LeBear's on Monday night. So make plans. Come on out to LeBear's and watch the Saints and Chiefs with us. There inside the ESPN Bet Sportsbook. Hey, it's on. Thanks for watching Hunt on Saints. Before you leave, help us out a little bit. Hit that like button, leave your comments in the section below, and hit that subscribe button so you get all our content right here from Hunt on Saints. We'll see you next time.